Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we are covering an Atlanta Hawks offseason preview. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free to you. We cover a lot of NBA content, so make sure you are subscribed right now to the channel just so you don't miss out on any more future content. Now, the Atlanta Hawks are a team that's very, very interesting heading into the year. But reviewing last year, the 2021-2022 season, they were 43-39. They ended up losing to Miami in the playoffs, but let's take a look at some of the bright spots here. Trae Young stardom, once again, the guy was an absolute stud during the regular season, was balling out, great playmaker, great scorer, a true leader of this franchise, and he is the cornerstone for this team for many, many years to come. I don't think it's any surprise that he's doing what he's doing. This guy has been super consistent since he's got to the league, and I think he's really ascending himself and turning himself into that star player. And he is going to be a mainstay name for a lot of years to come. Now, looking at DeAndre Hunter, this is another big one for me. I look at him as a guy that continues to progress as a pro. There were some questions offensively of where he'd be if we remember how great he was defensively in college. The offense was definitely going to be there. We weren't exactly sure how it was going to translate, but he definitely got better this season at hitting the three ball at an even increased volume in terms of shots from the 3-point line. And something that's really key for players, especially big time role players. DeAndre Hunter continues to get better and better as his career progresses. I really like what I'm seeing from him from a development standpoint. There's people worried that he's potentially going to be a bust, but he is a very, very bright kid. He's a guy that's going to be consistent in this league for many years to come. He's going to be valuable. And so I think it's promising to see the Atlanta Hawks and how he is a big part of this franchise. So DeAndre Hunter's 3-point development, once again, had an increase from the previous season. So he's going to continue to work on that and get better. And then also the play-in success was something that was important to me. Obviously, they beat Charlotte and they also beat Cleveland. They absolutely blew out Charlotte in that play-in game and then had that nice win against Cleveland. Says a lot about this team, postseason wise. They surprised a lot of people last year, and then this year they thought they could do the same thing. We're able to replicate some of that postseason success, more particularly in that play-in. However, once they got to Miami just kind of outmatched them a little bit. Obviously, Trae Young had some struggles as well. And that's something that this team definitely needs is Trae Young to be hitting on all cylinders to win a series against a team like Miami that's so deep, so consistent, so good. Eric Spoelstra does a really, really nice job in the playoffs, making adjustments on the fly. Atlanta just didn't have it. Obviously, they stole one game when they were at home. However, they ended up only winning that one game in the entire series. So it was kind of left a sour taste in some Hawks fans' mouths, which is totally understandable, considering where some of their expectations had gone, from the previous year. And now all of a sudden you're kind of looking at it like, they were bounced in the first round. Last year was obviously the Eastern Conference Finals where they had lost. So kind of a little bit of a setback, but once again, they dealt with some injuries, a little bit of inconsistency, and that's ultimately what led to the demise of the season. Now, some of the key decisions: are they going to consolidate the roster? I think that's very possible. Maybe they're going to be looking to potentially add another star. They have quite a few guys on contracts that you could package together to eventually get to the star power, the star money for some of these players that could be potentially on their way out from their respected franchises. So maybe consolidating the roster, acquiring another star, those things kind of go hand in hand for me. And I'm not exactly sure how Atlanta feels. I mean, they're a deep team. They have a lot of good players on this roster. However, consolidating is something that is probably necessary. And I think they've felt that. Also, maybe they're going to acquire a couple more draft picks as well to throw into the mix. Is this time to really dump Danilo Gallinari? I'm not exactly sure what his future role is going to be with this team. They had a vision for him, and he hasn't necessarily kind of got to the level that they thought he was going to be. They had some pretty high expectations, obviously, for him. Just hasn't lived up to the contract. So I think it's very well possible that they are looking to move his large contract. I believe it is his contract season. So you're left with a big time decision there. Are we going to move him? Maybe we can use him as an asset. I'm not exactly sure what team would be for sure looking to take on that kind of money. Also, Sharif Cooper, a guy that had some great success in the G League. Yeah, at the end of the season, he definitely had a couple of minutes here and there. I think 4 or 5 minutes in his last 5 games where he would just get in, get a little bit of exposure and stuff. And then finally, is this a potential landing spot for Donovan Mitchell? I think that's very much on the radar. I think that is something that we have to consider. He had talked about Miami. He had talked about Atlanta as 2 teams potentially he might want to link up with. So I could see Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young. Imagine trying to defend those two. And that would be absolutely insane. I would have a lot of questions defensively on where they would stand. Obviously not all world defenders. So, but offensively, they would be so tough to stop. What a dynamic duo that could be. So could Donovan Mitchell potentially be on his way out and heading to Atlanta? Well, the nice thing is that once again goes hand in hand with the whole, are they going to consolidate the roster? Well, that's a really good way to do it. I'm not exactly sure what a trade could potentially look like for that. However, they do have some young assets. They have some young players that could be of interest to Utah. They have the money to make it work as well. So I like that for the Atlanta Hawks. I think that could be something that's very much on their radar for sure. Now, I want to say here a message from our sponsor. The folks at Manscaped here said that you asked for it, and they were really listening to you. Our friends at Manscaped brought back the Ultra Smooth package. It's time to stop and drop and order this premium shaving kit. Now, everybody knows that the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best electric shave for your balls, but if you're looking for a closer shave to get a little more bare down there, then the Ultra Smooth package is definitely the perfect set for you. It's time to shave that bush of yours and get right to the roots with a discount for you. You can get 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com with our special code utility20. Now, with this kit itself, it's a 3-step process. There's a crop exfoliator, which helps your skin around the groin area stay clean and clear and really prevent from the ingrown hairs. The gel helps you see, where to shave and what you have to do. And it almost feels like, people have talked about it being like a spa treatment for that area, which is not a place you would generally think about that spa treatment. And then finally, the last step of the process is to shave. The crop shaver is designed to shave with confidence. It has 3 precision blades that have extra lubricating strips for a nice, clean shave down there. You're not going to have the ingrown hairs. It's going to be smooth, exactly how it sounds. So at the end of the day, go ahead and get 20% off plus free shipping with code utility20 at manscaped.com. Once again, code utility20 at manscaped.com in order to get that 20% and free ship. Smooth out your fellows with the relaunched Ultra Smooth package from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. So once again, here's the code. If you missed it, it's a really, really tremendous product that they're relaunching. It was something they were super excited about. Now back to the video here. What are the draft picks that they have? They have the 16th overall pick. They got the 44th overall pick. So it's nice that they have both of their own picks, therefore being able to use that as an asset for a trade or potentially just resupplement the roster. Some of the draft needs, they need a little bit of shot creation, in my opinion, off the bench. They need a guy that could be a switchable defender and then potentially another playmaker. Those are the big things for me. When you look at this team, shot creation off the bench definitely needs to be a big part of it. Now, some of the potential targets, Gene Montero from Overtime Elite, a guy that can create his own shot, can be a scorer. I think, looking at him, a little bit undersized. However, if you're looking for a guy to put the ball in the hoop at that next level, Montero could be that player for you. Ousmane Dieng from France is a very unique prospect, a guy that's super moldable. He's got this, I believe, 6'10" frame. And when you look at what he can do as a playmaker and potentially could develop into as a scorer, I think that kind of fits the mold of what they're looking for. And especially if they trade Danilo Gallinari, this could be a nice plug and play. And then finally, Wendell Moore Jr., a guy that's super switchable on the defensive end. And that's really where I had my main focus is he switchable? Can he guard multiple positions? That's something else that this team needs. Once again, obviously, I'm not the greatest defensive team. However, a switchable defender like Wendell Moore could make a huge difference, especially when it comes to postseason play. and being on some of those tough elite perimeter players that the Eastern Conference has to offer, Wendell Moore Jr. could be a nice addition for this roster. I think all three of those are very realistic for where they're currently picking. And let me know in the comment section below, do you believe these guys could potentially be the pick for your Atlanta Hawks, especially at that 16th spot? Free agency. Now, this is kind of interesting. Tyus Jones, Avery Bradley, Trey Burke, and Joe Ingles. Let's start. Tyus Jones is a phenomenal playmaker in the sense of he doesn't turn over the ball, and he's very, very efficient with his assists. A guy that's not going to throw you out of many games and is not careless with the ball. Avery Bradley has really built a reputation over the years about being able to guard multiple positions and could be an impact defender off the bench. Trey Burke brings that shot creation. That's something that we want to keep our eye on. Trey Burke, it was more of a situational issue in Dallas. And we saw, I mean, going back to the bubble, what he did to the LA Clippers, a guy that can get off his own shot and could be a spark plug off the bench. And then finally, Joe Ingles is the final one for me. Obviously, Joe Ingles brings a lot of value as a playmaker, and having him on that second unit as a secondary or even tertiary playmaker makes a lot of sense to me. These are all lower cost options, really helps Atlanta stay within budget. And I think that they're going to be moving some players in the offseason to maybe open up some salary cap for themselves. So that is something else that we need to consider when looking at the Atlanta Hawks is where can they save some money? Where can they open it up? And I think these are some nice budget free agents for them to really supplement this roster with. Now, next season, what are some of the goals for this team? I think Jalen Johnson's definitely going to need to see a larger role. Obviously didn't get a ton of play time this year. However, he is going to be a player that should be a very, very big part of what they're doing next year. As a playmaker, as a defender, Jalen Johnson needs to be a bigger part of this team. They obviously need to, I feel they should make it out of the first round next year. Hopefully they don't get as tough of a draw as they did this year with Miami. So that is something that you have to consider, that Miami's a very, very tough team. They're very complete. They're a great postseason team. So the Atlanta Hawks got a tough draw there, considering they had to play 2 of the play-in games, and then you end up with Miami. Trae Young, obviously making an MVP case. If he can continue to ascend as a offensive juggernaut, and his team starts to win a little bit more, especially during the regular season, which is something that people have to consider. I think he could make a push for that MVP case. And then Onyeka Okongwu needs to take another step forward, I think, more as a playmaker. He upped his points per game, this past season. However, Okongwu just needs to get better. He's an efficient scorer. He knows when to put up his shots, and he's very selective with it. If he can just grow his game offensively, that'd be huge. More specifically in a playmaking role as well. That's where some of these bigs, I get you want them to be, dominant scorers, but not all of them have that skill set offensively. So you have to be better in a lot of different ways. And an easier one for them to kind of work on is the playmaking aspect, knowing when to pass out when they're down in the post, hitting that open guy in the 3-point line. So Onyeka Okongwu has some areas of improvement, but he is a really, really talented player that is going to continue to get better. So if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It, once again, does not cost you anything. Also, leave a like on today's video if you did enjoy the content. Let me know in the comment section below where you think the Hawks will finish next year in the Eastern Conference. Do you feel they're a top 8 seed, or do you think they're going to plummet below that? Thanks again for stopping by. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you in the next video.